Ciao besties, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Viviana, I'm a brand designer, and today we're gonna design a brand identity starting from the most important part of the process, the brand strategy. In my opinion, a brand that is just pretty or cool looking isn't a brand that is meant to last. So I feel like brand strategy is essential for the creation of a strong identity, but we rarely get to show it on this channel. Usually we skip to the design part. In this video, I really want to walk you through my strategy process and show you how it actually affects my design decisions. The brand that we're gonna design today, it's called Mundial, and it's a sanitary pads brand that is targeted to anyone who has periods regardless of their gender. It isn't obviously a real client, but we're gonna treat it as such for the purpose of this video. I'm gonna follow all the usual steps of my client process, which are actually explained more in detail in this video right here. So the very first information that you're gonna get from the client is a quick summary of what they want to achieve and a Pinterest board with their vision for the brand. Let's take a look at the board. Alright, so as you're seeing from the board, there are a lot of different things going on. So the client definitely doesn't have a clear vision for it, but they know that they want a very bold typography that has to be mainly featured on the packaging. You can definitely see a type-based packaging, which doesn't really feature a lot of illustrations, which I think that is actually good because it would definitely make the packaging stand out from what we see usually on this type of products. The type is very bold, but we don't really get to identify a specific style from this board. So as the designer in charge of the product, I will have to steer the client towards the right direction. And then we also see quite a bit this abstract shapes that really are like secondary. They're in addition to the branding. They're not the main feature, but they are there to give that little extra something to the brand. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. There doesn't seem to be a direction for the colors either, because we see a lot of different colors, but one thing that we'll definitely avoid will be really feminine colors or the color red, because you know it's too predictable for a brand like this. So this is basically what we're going to use as base and as inspiration to make the creative direction later on. This gives us a clear idea of what the client likes and doesn't like immediately. So I already know that I have everything that I need right here. After this step, usually I use a questionnaire to ask about the brand values, goals, the competitors, and literally anything that will help me create the brand strategy, but also the creative direction. Based on the client answers, we can say that Mundial wants to stand out from competitors, and they want to provide a safe and inclusive space for people of all genders with comfortable and sustainable pads. They don't want to use typical feminine imagery or colors, and they want to attract millennials and Gen Z. So their branding must be bold, young, modern, and captivating. Now, one thing that is fundamental to analyze at this stage of the process is the competitors. Our client is US based, so I did some research and I identified the three main competitors for the brand. Let's start with the first. The first one is pretty obvious if you live in the US, and it's Always. Always, from what I've seen from my research, is basically the staple in the country, so everyone knows this. This is probably the go-to brand. From what I've seen from the branding, they have definitely toned down the feminine packaging. I saw recently that they have removed feminine elements from the packaging, but still it does strike me as a really feminine brand. It might be the typography or just the way that they communicate, like their brand voice. I appreciate this step towards inclusivity, but it doesn't really feel that inclusive to me. The entire website and marketing displays only women from what I'm seeing. So the pros of this brand is that it's obviously well known. They have tons of products, they're well established. I think that they are the main brand for sanitary products. So I feel like it's a safe choice. People know that these products are reliable and they work. So this is why I see this as a competitor. But the main target is probably different. The second competitor is Aunt Flo. This branding is really fun, I have to say. They share a lot of brand values and goals with our brand, but they display these goals in a really different way. Of course, as we're seeing, the main color is the color red, which is a really nice shade of red, I would say, and it makes it a little bit more fun and young, but it is still red. Even though they are very inclusive and they do say this, which I really appreciate, it still feels a little bit feminine. I don't know, it might be the use of the colors or the illustrations, even the typography. Usually this kind of script fonts are a little bit more feminine, but their messaging and their brand values are very similar, so that's why I think that it could be a really strong competitor. I feel like younger people gravitate towards brands like this, so we would definitely have to keep this on our radar. So basically they have the same purpose and values, but they display it in a completely different way. And last but not least, we have our biggest competitor, August. This brand is exactly what I thought Munil should be. Like, if I didn't do any research, I would have probably ended up doing something exactly like this. The designer who did this probably shares a lot of things with me because they have this really bold and strong typography, which I love, and also the colors, the way that they're doing packaging. I do feel very close to this type of branding, and again, this is what I would have done if I didn't know anything about the other brands. This shows you exactly how important it is to do your research. This brand has everything that we want to achieve. They have the same goals, the same messaging. The products are also sustainable and comfortable. It can be a little bit concerning, but that's why we have to work to create a concept that is different enough and that it can stand out from this. One thing that I'm noticing is that this brand feels a little bit too Gen Z, which might be their target audience, which could be fine, but this like big contrast of red and yellow does feel very Gen Z. Also, this sky pattern is something that it's now very trendy, so maybe millennials would not be attracted to this kind of packaging or this kind of branding. And also, even though their products are sustainable, we don't really see that in the packaging. It does feel very digital. Even though they have like this sky pattern, it doesn't really strike me as natural. So I feel like with our brand, we will have to, you know, add some more natural colors and not use red at all, because we have seen that two of our competitors now use red. There are different shades of red, but they still use it. And of course, as we've seen, red is mainly linked to periods, so we don't want to be predictable, we want to stand out. So now, with all of this information, I am finally able to develop the brand strategy and the creative direction. Let's take a look. The main values for the brand will be inclusivity, comfort, and sustainability. The brand wants to target people of all genders, and they want to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe purchasing the product, but also wearing the product. Sustainability, it's a big thing because we know that sanitary pads usually aren't that good for the environment, so the brand promises to focus on making the pads sustainable and biodegradable. And then we have the personality, that's bold, organic, modern, and inclusive. We can see that also from the tone of voice, which is friendly, edgy, playful, realistic, accessible, spontaneous, and progressive. The main goals, as we said, are to stand out because we do not want to look like any of the other competitors. We want to provide comfort for the customer in the entire experience, and we want to create a community for people who value inclusivity and sustainability. As I mentioned, the main target for the brand will be people who are millennials or Gen Z. People like Ash, who is non-binary, they always feel uncomfortable buying sanitary products and picking them up at the store in front of other people. Or people like Lana, who really cares about the environment, but she finds tampons uncomfortable and the menstrual cups and reusable pads too much work, so she wants to support a sustainable brand while also being comfortable. This was part of the brand strategy when it comes to who the business is at its core. But now let's see how all of this can be translated into visuals. This is the mood board that I came up with. I feel like this color palette will really make the brand stand out from competitors. So as you're seeing, the colors can be natural and soft, but still bold at the same time. We have colors that provide like a pop of color, like the orange and the bright neon yellow, which I think work so nicely with the rest of the palette. I think that we have like a great balance of natural and soft and bold and captivating, which is exactly what we want to achieve with this brand. We don't see any feminine colors, no red. We have an orange, which is impossible for me not to use, obviously. And as for the typography, we have a really bold and impactful type, which I think will be attracting younger customers. And of course, if you know me, you know this already, I will make some type manipulation to add in some curves and make that font like really stand out and be unique. As we've seen from the client mood board, the client wants to have a mainly type-based packaging, which will be very cool in my opinion. It would just like make it stand out so much, and that is why we have to make sure that the font is super incredible and cool. I have such a cool idea for the type manipulations for the logo. I kind of want to recreate some imagery associated with periods, but I don't want to be too specific. You're gonna have to wait and see. So this is my vision, but one thing that I wanted to point out about the concept, and especially the color palette, is that usually when it comes to this type of brands, there are two different ways to do marketing. There's one that's like calm and soothing, like yes, you are in pain, we're gonna help you through this, you're gonna just stay chill. And this is the kind of marketing that I feel like always does, you know, with those like soft colors, the blue. And then there are brands who do the opposite thing. They're very energetic and inspiring, that like, yes, you're on your period, but you are unstoppable, you can do anything. I feel like Mooniel finds itself right in the middle. We have a little bit of both, which I think could be more relatable. Our mood board strategy have been approved by the client, and now we're finally ready to start having some fun and design this branding. So much talking and we haven't even started designing yet. Oh my god. Alright, so here we are on Adobe Illustrator. As you're seeing, I have placed the mood board right beside our artboard, and that is something that I always do because it always helps me to remember the concept. To have it there as a reference is so useful because you don't have to just sit there and think about what you should do. You have it right there. So as you're seeing, here we are the color palette and some fonts that I've chosen for this concept. I am a big fan of bold condensed font. I think that they are very fun, very cool on a packaging, and very modern. I have been wanting to use a font, this one here called Marjorie by Tantype. Once again, yes, I'm a big fan of Tantype. I'm using their fonts all the time, and I feel like this font has such a cool personality. Like, it's so fun and playful, but given the fact that it's like condensed and really stretched, I feel like it's like super unique. I don't know, I love it. So, you know, we're just gonna use that because I've been wanting to do that for ages. Now, one thing that I would say about this font is that even though it looks super cool, it is a little bit too condensed. The legibility gets affected a little bit. So what I want to do is trying to stretch it a little bit more. It's not gonna lose like its entire personality, but it's gonna be more effective as a logo. Oh my god, some people get so triggered when designers stretch fonts, but we stand stretching fonts in this house. As I said, I wanted to add like some curves and some type manipulation on the letters to resemble some imagery related to periods. I'm just gonna do it, and yeah, then you will tell me what you think that is. So let's start with this M. Obviously, this is a great canvas for type manipulations. Let's grab the pencil tool. Illustrator just crashed and I didn't save anything, so let me do that everything again very quickly. Oh my god. Alright, this is kind of the curve that I was going for. Of course, we have to make sure that it's symmetrical, so I'm just gonna copy this one and reflect it. I still can't get over what just happened. Yes. Oh my god, this looks so cool. Oh my god. Okay, now look at this M, and I don't want to say what that is, but if you know, you know. Okay, I love this M. So the next thing that I want to do is kind of open up the letter A, because we're going to do something different with the letter N. Okay, I've also adjusted a little bit the N, but I have a different idea for it, as I said. So first of all, I want to add a little bit of movement to the logo because it does feel a little bit too static. From the mood board, the initial mood board, there are those like abstract, wavy shapes that the client liked, so I thought that I would add this also in the logo. Let's use the shear tool and just give this a little bit of movement, not too much. So now I want to add one piece of that curve also on the end. Alright, so our logo is done. Now it's time to try it with the colors and see how it actually works and if it works. Alright, oh my god, I love this. I love this. I think the M is so cool. I think that it's so like recognizable and it will definitely make the brand stand out. I've never seen anything like this. Now it's time to move on to the packaging, which is actually the most important part for brands like this. For product-based brands that are gonna be in stores, the packaging is obviously the most important element in the branding because that is how the client is gonna actually come in contact with the product. Our main goal is to attract the eye of the customer where they're they're walking through the store and they're looking for sanitary pads. They see something that they've never seen before, the packaging is captivating, it's cool, it does feel like them, it does resonate, so they buy it. And that is the perfect outcome that we are trying to reach. So what you're seeing here is the shape that I've chosen for our packaging. I'm gonna be designing just for a mock-up, so I'm not gonna design some real packaging. That would make the process completely different. I would have to use a die line and so many more things that we are not really considering in this project since it's not actually a real client. I've actually made a video explaining the differences between designing for a real client and designing for a mock-up, so if you want to check that out, if you have doubts about this. For this brand, I'm picturing 3 different products. Of course, if this were a real client, we would have so many more products, but for the sake of this video, we're just gonna do 3 different products: day pads, night pads, and liners. Let's actually start with the night pads because the color combo is just so beautiful that I'm obsessed with it. So now I'm gonna share with you a little trick that I use all the time when it comes to packaging. If you don't feel that comfortable with illustrations or with drawing shapes by hand, then you can use the curves that you already have in your logo. I love doing that because it's such an easy but smart way of creating movement and something different using what you already have. So this is exactly what we're gonna do for this packaging. This is not really a illustration kind of packaging because we want to keep it sleek and simple, but informative enough that it has all the information that a customer would need to purchase the product. If you've ever seen some packaging for some pads, you know that they can get like overwhelming. There are a lot of different things, drawings, photos, pictures, and I feel like this style of packaging is really like old-fashioned, so younger people, millennials and Gen Z don't really gravitate towards this type of packaging. First thing that I want to do is take this beautiful M, oh my god, I love it, and just use these curves that we already have in the M to create some interesting movement. Naturally, this shape created the perfect place to place our logo. Okay, so in this packaging, I'm picturing like 24 pads. What I want to do is just specify how many pads do we have and what they're for. So in this case, they are night pads. So let's do that by creating just some simple icons. Alright, so now that we have our icons, I want to place them here because I feel like this curve is the perfect place. Okay, I'm obsessed with this already. So now I'm going to add other information that are valuable to the customer while making the purchases. So the type of flow that you're having, the fact that our pads are fully biodegradable, which you know is a good point for sustainability. And of course, we want to ensure comfort, so the pads are 100% leak and odor free. So now for the sides, I just want to add that pop of color that I was talking about. This lilac is so beautiful, and I think we can just add like the main information about the pads, which is the quantity and what they are for. And last but not least, we have the top of our box. As I said, I really wanted to use the type to create some sort of texture and really make a type-based packaging. But of course, just the type doesn't really make the client buy the product. So we're gonna use it at the top, on another side of the box that it's not immediately shown in the shelves. Alright, so this is part of the packaging that we're gonna use for this brand, and I'm honestly quite obsessed with this. As I said, I will do 2 more products, so I will work on those and I will see you when I'm done. Alright, I'm back. So I've designed 2 more packaging. This is the one for the day pads. As you're seeing, it's very similar. I just changed the color combo. I have kept the softer colors on the front and top, and then on the sides we have that pop-up color that I was talking about. Now, of course, as you're seeing, I have used colors to kind of communicate to the client what the product is without having to read what it is yet. Colors are such a smart language to use to communicate. So for example, for the night pads, I've used softer, more calming and soothing colors, while for the day pads, I've used an orange, those browns that are a little bit more energetic, but they still feel cohesive to the rest of the branding. This is a clear example of when you should use something that is actually common to the client. Usually, if we want to send out, our first idea is to do the complete opposite thing. But sometimes when we do that, we go a little bit too far and the client gets a little bit confused. We have to meet the customer in the middle once again, because standing out doesn't necessarily mean do something drastic. It will not work in our favor. The client almost has an instinct to go towards, the darkest colors for night products, kind of a subconscious action that they do. So we can use that in our packaging but still keep our personality. We can use colors and how we know they are perceived, like generally, to guide the client through their purchasing experience. Being a product-based business, I don't really have anything else to do. We've created our 3 products and all I have left to do is now put them on mockups. So I will do that and I will be right back. Alright, the project has been finalized and perfected and it's now ready to be presented. Let me introduce to you Moniel. This project was honestly so much fun to make, and I'm glad that I got to show my strategy process, which really isn't talked about enough. This brand was also kind of a response to a lot of similar projects that I've seen online. 80% of them are extremely feminine and they are targeted towards women only, which I don't really think it's that realistic in 2023, so I wanted to share my take on it. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. This is kind of what I do usually on this channel, so if you've made it to here, then you should definitely subscribe. I'm on all social media, especially Instagram, so you can find me there literally every day. I obviously had a lot of time to work on this brand to create a strong identity, but what would happen if I got a mystery brief and I had to design everything in just one day? Well, you can find out in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in another video next week. Ciao!